PS5 Pro is exactly what you think it is. Nvidia is the top company in the world, and the 9800X3D defied even my expectations. Let's get into the hot news, everybody. I'm your Brett host. We're going to be going over the hottest tech news that I can find on the internet while you enjoy your breakfast this Thursday, November 7th, 2024. And we're going to start off today talking about the PS5 Pro reviews because that is actually what's launching today. I actually am expecting my delivery to happen sometime within the afternoon. I'm going to get my PlayStation 5 Pro, and the reviews have come out for it, indicating that it's kind of exactly what Sony cracked it up to be, a PlayStation 5 that is faster. It's not necessarily going to be the best gaming experience that you could possibly get, but if you want to enjoy PlayStation 5 games at the best quality, resolution, and frame rate, this is going to be the device for you to be able to use, especially if you want to get ray tracing as well as 4K 60 FPS and a bunch of different titles. The game that I'm most looking forward to actually playing with my PS5 Pro is going to be Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, simply because the 60 FPS mode degrades the quality so much that it looked worse, and so I'm waiting to play it on the Pro so that I can get the high quality but also still get the high frame rate. And it's looking like it's gonna be exactly what I want it to be, but I also understand that this is not gonna be for every PlayStation gamer. This is not an upgrade that people on the PS5 should make. This is just for people who are PS5 enthusiasts and want to play the games that are already out there at the highest fidelity and frame rate possible. But while we're talking about console news, let's also go ahead and discuss the details that came out about the Nintendo Switch 2. Over on Twitter, a Nintendo executive confirmed that the Nintendo Switch 2 will actually be backwards compatible with the current Nintendo Switch games for their 2025 launch, so that the games that you already have will play on the next gen console, which helps to put into perspective all of the emulator shutdowns that have been going on, as well as making sure that Nintendo has a fierce grasp on their IP, because they realize if you want people to switch to a faster Nintendo Switch, you can't have people not being on the original Nintendo Switch on their PC. So that is changing. What's also changing is the Mozilla Foundation, the company behind Firefox, announced that it's laying off 30% of its staff, which mostly includes the nonprofit advocacy and global programs division portion of the company, as well as a couple people from the product division. But this is something that Mozilla is saying is to increase agility as they're trying to create a more open and equitable technical future for everyone. But one of the things that Valve is releasing for everyone is their new Steam game recorder that's going to be available on both Nvidia as well as AMD hardware, and is going to be available on Mac and the Steam Deck. This is basically the same thing as Nvidia Shadowplay or various different other game recording apps that allow you to record your gameplay and make it so that it runs as an overlay in the background, and it should come at very little performance penalty, according to what Valve is saying about their program. This has been in beta for a little while, but now it's available for all users. And Reece is now available for you to bring you more deals.
Yo, welcome back to UFD Deals, bringing the hottest tech deals on the internet. And in honor of it getting cooler, I've got some cooler deals for you guys today, starting off with the Cooler Hyper 212 Spectrum V3 ARGB CPU air cooler, going for only $9.99 with a coupon applied, making it $8 off and an absolutely no-brainer pickup for any budget build. But then next up, we have the Corsair iQ H115i Elite Capellix XT 280mm AIO CPU liquid cooler, going for only $84.99, making it $115 off. And then lastly, to round this out, we have the Zellman Z10 Duo Premium eATX case plus their CPU air cooler combo, going for only $89.99, making it $25.48 off. And hey, with that, the deals are done. You can find these and more linked in the video description down below. But until next time, I'm gonna hand you off back to Brett for the rest of your hot news. Cheers.
Well, Reece, the numbers on Nvidia are looking quite high. As of the time of recording hot news, Nvidia is now again the #1 most valuable company in the entire world, once again beating Apple, being worth $3.5 trillion versus Apple's $3.2 trillion. A lot of change has been happening, but it just continues to show the boon that Nvidia is having because of all of the machine learning AI acceleration that's been going on, which Microsoft has been participating in, and they've been calling their version of AI, which is just a reskin ChatGPT, Copilot. But it turns out that they might want to rebrand that. A lot of people thought that when the name was announced because it just didn't really have good zing to it. But now there's evidence that Microsoft might be rebranding it to be called Windows Intelligence, which I personally think is a slightly better branding move, but it remains to be seen if they're going to restructure that overall, or if Windows Intelligence is like the umbrella term and then Copilot is a subset feature feature of that, and you still have all of the things like the Copilot button that's being debuted on the brand new Windows devices. But speaking of brand new things, not only is the PS5 Pro coming out today, but also the 9800X3D is going on sale today at 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. I'm excited to line up and see if I could potentially get one. We're actually going to be giving an upgrade to the newest member of UFD Tech. We're going to be upgrading his 5800X3D to a 9800X3D if I can get my hands on one of the chips. But reviews came out yesterday for all of the organizations that were able to get pre-production samples of these, and according to every single review that I got to look at, which again you can check out Video Card's Roundup, they provide an excellent repository every single time there's new hardware released of the various different outlets that review these things. But the 9800X3D is the best gaming processor that's ever been released. It is ridiculously good at gaming, beating the 7800X3D by about 10 to 11% in many different games in average FPS, but as well as the 0.1% in bringing up those lows. But additionally, one of the major improvements that comes with the 9800X3D is the fact that it's better at productivity, various different applications. As you can see here, trounces the 7800X3D in various different applications according to Tech Power Up's review. Trounces the 9700X. Does lose to the 14700K in a few different situations and wins in various other ones. Also kind of is middling versus the Core Ultra 7265K, but also look at that improvement from the 5800X3D first gen Ryzen. This is a massive improvement from the previous X3D generations. If you use your PC for anything that's not just gaming, this is looking to be a chip that's going to bring you a lot of advantages. It's a lot of gaming performance. General consensus is that unless you're on a very high-end graphics card right now playing at a lower resolution, there's no major need to upgrade right now if you're on a 7800X3D, again, unless you're doing professional applications. We're really seeing a lot of those improvements at CPU bottleneck situations, which tends to be gaming at 720p or 1080p using a 4090. These are situations that don't really play out in the real world with people who buy the 4090 class of hardware. They're typically playing at 1440 or 4K. But what this does bode well for is potentially buying the 9800X3D and then waiting for the 5090, 6090, 6080 to come out, and then you have a CPU that's potentially going to allow you to have that extra GPU headroom later on down the line. But one of the things that AMD also confirmed is that the 7800X3D isn't going anywhere in the near future, that it's going to be continuously available. It's going to be expected in the market for a while. Not necessarily indicated on what price point we're supposed to be getting with the 7800X3D, but if it's anywhere near where we saw it in the last few months of around $350, that's going to be a phenomenal value for gamers. The 9800X3D being $130 more at $480 as it launches makes sense for the vast majority of enthusiast gamers out there, and kind of just puts Intel in a place where why would you buy them at this point in terms of the Ultra 7, just making advancements in productivity but losing ground in gaming. The 9800X3D showing us that AMD is capable of doing both. They gain ground in gaming and they gain ground in terms of productivity, making a CPU that is just, quite frankly, better than I was expecting it to be. It's what an incredible CPU launch from AMD according to all the third-party benchmarks I watched. Let me know what you think of the 9800X3D down below in the comments while I review your comments from yesterday's episode of Hot News in comment response. We've got Goner Lay saying they really dropped the ball by not making that Red Devil GPU deal 666.666. I think this is in reference to the 7900X3D. You wanted a worse deal? Is that what you're saying? You wanted to spend a few extra bucks in order to have the joke complete? And then the next comment is RIP Intel, and I won't miss you. I don't know about that, man. Like, we're gonna get into a few more comments about Intel, but like, I had a lot of good moments with Intel. My Core 2 Duo days, my Core 2 Quad days, as well as my i5 4460. There's been plenty to enjoy about Intel before, AMD maybe left them in this unchecked power position that we're kind of finding AMD in now, where Intel doesn't really have firm competition against Team Red at this moment. But we got Nahal saying, Intel needs to step up. I don't want AMD to turn into a monopoly. There you go. And then AMD fans saying, turns out people want cheap, great CPUs and GPUs. What a shocking thing. This is in reference to the fact that AMD finally beat Intel with regards to their data center amount of money that's coming in, which has nothing to do with their CPUs and GPUs in terms of regular people. Their GPUs are selling like crap compared to Nvidia, so that's not in consideration. And their CPUs, yes, are selling well, but that's not what we were talking about. We're talking about data center, and it's not as good as your Pentium, and especially is not good in the GPU division. Then Qualette saying, if Intel goes bankrupt, then there will be no competition for AMD so that they can price their CPUs as high as they want. So I'm hoping Intel can actually make some good CPUs. I think that's the better outlook that I would like to see. I want Intel to get back on track with the engineering, making sure that their CPUs are more competitive. That's kind of what I want. And then Alexasaurus saying, stop telling me why Apple is good. It's putting a real dent in my blind hatred. No, I have come around on enjoying my Apple products in terms of the simplicity of the various things that are going on. You'll notice that we are in a new set. We finally got Hot News set up in the brand new office. We're still kind of configuring lighting and audio. This episode might sound and look different than it's going to in the future, but also one of the things that I'm transitioning to is making sure that the Hot News computer that's actually getting all of the things that I need ready to go is actually a Mac. And this is the base level M3 MacBook Air with only 8 gigabytes of RAM, and it is wrecking in terms of how simple it is versus my 12-core Intel laptop that I was running Hot News on previously that had 32 gigs of RAM, in terms of how smoothly this entire setup has gone for how we do Hot News, which is just usability in terms of a lot of different things. It's just been... I'm still using Windows PCs and Intel and Nvidia and AMD for gaming, but in terms of productivity, my use cases are switching more and more to Mac OS. And then JC Denton saying, Mac Mini is only affordable if you like the NAT minimum of RAM, which Hydroxide saying 16 gigabytes is plenty, which I firmly agree with. For $599, the M4 getting 16 gigabytes of RAM, I think for most use cases is going to be plenty. Obviously for gaming, it's a different conversation, but 16 gigabytes of RAM, it's not 8 anymore. They have upped it at $599. The Mac Mini is one of the best value, just like set it and forget it PCs that you could possibly have. Well, we're gonna see if we can set and forget all of the settings that we had here on Hot News today. Big thanks to everybody for supporting us, especially as we've been growing and now we're transitioning into a new office. You're still gonna see the previous set quite often, especially as we're anticipating the arrival of my fourth son, and I will have to film a lot more from home once that does happen, but we do have this new set at the office so that I can film here as well. But big thanks to you guys for all you're doing, and we should be back with another episode here tomorrow on Friday. See you then.